I want you to picture something for me. Picture a woman standing in a hospital break room at 2 in the morning, eating a granola bar she found in her own coat pocket because she forgot to pack lunch again. Her feet are swollen. Her back has been aching since Tuesday. She has not slept more than 5 hours in any single night this week. And while she is standing there in that fluorescent light, chewing that stale granola bar, she is thinking about her husband at home. Thinking about how hard this must be for him. How humiliating it must feel to be a grown man without a job. How she needs to be patient, supportive, steady. That woman was me. And everything I believed in that moment was a lie. My name does not matter. What matters is the story, and I am going to tell you every single piece of it. I am a registered nurse. I have been a registered nurse for 11 years. I went into this profession because I genuinely wanted to help people. I am good at it. I am calm under pressure, I notice details other people miss, and I do not panic easily. Those qualities served me well in the emergency room. They also, eventually, served me well when I decided to take my husband apart. But I am getting ahead of myself. Daniel and I met 8 years ago at a mutual friend's birthday party. He was charming in that specific way that makes you feel like the only person in the room. He worked in tech, in product development, and he talked about his work with this infectious enthusiasm that made it sound genuinely exciting. We dated for 2 years, got married, bought a house in the suburbs. On paper, we were the kind of couple that made other couples feel slightly inadequate. Good jobs, a nice home, a plan. The plan started to unravel, or so I thought, about 3 years into our marriage. Daniel came home one evening looking pale and told me he had been laid off. The tech sector was going through a brutal round of cuts that year, and his company, he said, had eliminated his entire division. He showed me what looked like a termination letter. He seemed genuinely devastated. I told him we would figure it out together. I meant every word. What followed was 2 years of my life that I will never get back. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital. Then I started doing per diem work at a clinic 2 towns over on my days off. Then I began taking weekend shifts at an urgent care facility. Because the co-pays on our health insurance had gone up, and our savings were draining faster than I expected. At my peak, I was working close to 70 hours a week. I was exhausted in a way that went beyond physical. It was the kind of tired that settles into your personality, that makes you shorter with people you love, that makes joy feel like something you used to be able to afford. Daniel, meanwhile, was home. He told me he was applying for jobs every day. He seemed depressed, which I understood. Unemployment can devastate a person's sense of identity, especially someone who had built so much of his self-worth around his career. I tried to be compassionate. I did not nag him about the job search. I did not make him feel small. I cooked dinner on the nights I was home early enough. I told him things would turn around. I believed they would. He had a routine. He would leave the house around 9 in the morning, supposedly to go to the library or a coffee shop, to work on applications, get out of the house, keep his spirits up. He would be back by 6 or 7, sometimes later. I thought nothing of it. I was usually at work anyway. I want to stop here for a moment, because I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, how did she not see it? And I understand that question. I have asked it myself 1,000 times, but I want you to understand something about being genuinely exhausted. When you are working 70 hours a week and running on 5 hours of sleep, and your entire focus is on keeping your household from falling apart, you are not running the kind of careful mental surveillance that catches a lie this elaborate. You are surviving. You trust the person who is supposed to be your partner, because the alternative, the possibility that he is not who you think he is too catastrophic to entertain while you still have 12 hours left in your shift. I did not see it. Not for 2 years. The thing that broke it open was so small it almost did not happen. I was doing laundry on a Sunday morning. Daniel was still asleep. I was going through the pockets of his jackets before I put them in the wash, the way you do, looking for receipts or loose change, or anything that would survive a spin cycle badly. And in the inside pocket of a charcoal blazer I had never seen him wear around the house, I found a keycard. It was the kind of keycard you get for a secured building. Matte black, no logo on the front. On the back, there was a small printed sticker with an address and a unit number. The address was downtown. The unit number was on the 34th floor. I stood there in the laundry room holding that card for a very long time. My mind went through explanations. Maybe it was old, from before the layoff. Maybe it was a friend's building, someone he visited. Maybe there was a completely innocent reason a supposedly unemployed man had a key card to a luxury high-rise downtown. I put the card back in the pocket. I put the blazer in the wash. And I did not say a single word to Daniel. But I did not let it go. The next morning, I told Daniel I had a double shift. I drove downtown. I found the building on the address from the card. It was exactly what I had feared it might be. 34 floors of glass and steel, a doorman, a lobby with marble floors. The kind of building where a one-bedroom runs $4,000 a month and a penthouse runs considerably more. I sat in my car across the street for 2 hours. At 8:47 in the morning, I watched my husband walk through the front doors of that building in a suit I had never seen, carrying a leather bag I had never seen, looking like a man who owned the world. He did not look depressed. He did not look like someone who had been unemployed for 2 years. He looked like a senior executive on his way to a very important meeting, because that is exactly what he was. I did not confront him. Something in me, that same part of me that stays calm when a patient is crashing, told me to be still. Told me that if I walked in there screaming, I would get nothing. That if I wanted justice, real justice, I needed to be patient. I needed to be methodical. I needed to build something he could not escape from. So that is what I did. I hired a private investigator within the week. I told her everything, showed her the key card, gave her Daniel's schedule as I understood it. She was thorough and she was fast. Within 3 weeks, she had confirmed what I had already begun to suspect was the full picture, and it was worse than I had imagined. Daniel had not been laid off. He had been promoted. 18 months before he came home and told me he had lost his job, he had been quietly moved into a senior director role at his company. His salary had increased to just over $400,000 a year, plus bonuses and equity. The termination letter he showed me had been fabricated. The investigator found the real employment records. The penthouse on the 34th floor was leased in the name of a Shell LLC that Daniel had set up. He had been living a second life there during the day, and on many nights when he told me he was at networking events or catching up with old colleagues. He was not alone in that penthouse. A junior colleague of his, a woman who had joined the company around the time of his supposed layoff, had essentially been his partner in that downtown life. For 2 years, I had been working myself to the bone to cover our household expenses, while my husband deposited his $400,000 salary into accounts I did not know existed. He had been watching me exhaust myself, and he had said nothing. He had let me believe we were struggling. He had let me skip meals and cancel plans and push my body past its limits, and he had gone downtown every morning to his luxury apartment and his other life and his enormous salary, and he had felt nothing. That is the part that stays with me. Not the betrayal of the affair. Not even the financial theft, though that was staggering. It was the willingness to watch me suffer and do nothing. The active, deliberate choice to let me believe a lie while he was comfortable. That is not a mistake. That is not weakness. That is cruelty. And here is what I want you to understand about where I was at this point. I was not broken. I had been underestimated my entire life by people who thought a woman who worked with her hands and her heart did not have the mind to match. My husband had underestimated me for 2 years, and counted on my exhaustion and my trust to keep me blind. He had made a catastrophic miscalculation. Because I was not going to fall apart. I was going to rebuild, quietly, and I was going to come back with everything I needed to take him apart legally, financially, and completely. I retained a divorce attorney who specialized in high-asset marital fraud cases. I retained a forensic accountant. Together, the three of us spent 6 weeks building a dossier that documented every hidden account, every transfer into the Shell LLC, every expense Daniel had run through that entity, every dollar of marital income he had concealed. The forensic accountant was extraordinary. She found accounts in 2 states. She traced equity payouts that Daniel had routed through a brokerage account I had no knowledge of. She documented the lease on the penthouse, the car he kept downtown that I had never seen, the credit cards tied to the LLC. We calculated the total concealed marital assets. The number, when she put it in front of me, made my hands go cold. It was just over $1.2 million. That was what he had hidden from me over those 2 years. That was what he had been building while I was working triple shifts to pay the electric bill. My attorney filed for an emergency freeze on all identified marital assets. The court granted it. Daniel did not know yet. He had no idea that anything had changed. As far as he was concerned, I was still the tired, trusting wife at home, none the wiser. There was one more thing I needed to do, and it required the kind of patience I had been training myself in for months. Daniel's company was holding a promotion banquet for him. He had told me about it 3 weeks earlier, framing it as a work event he was obligated to attend, telling me not to worry about coming, that it would be boring, that I should rest. What he did not know was that I had already confirmed the details of the event through the investigator. I knew the venue. I knew the date. I knew that his entire executive leadership team would be there, along with the company's board members and several major investors. I bought a dress. I had not bought myself anything new in 2 years. I bought a dress and I made an appointment, and I took care of myself for the first time in longer than I could remember. And on the evening of Daniel's promotion banquet, I walked into that venue looking like a woman who had never once doubted herself. Daniel saw me from across the room, and the color left his face so fast I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I did not make a scene. I did not shout. I walked to him calmly, in front of his CEO, his colleagues, the board members who were raising their glasses to celebrate his success. I handed him the envelope. Inside that envelope were the divorce papers, fully executed, referencing the concealed assets, the marital fraud, the hidden accounts, and the forensic accountant's complete findings. Also inside was a copy of the asset freeze order, and a brief professional summary of the investigation findings addressed to his company's HR department and board of directors, which my attorney had already transmitted electronically that afternoon. I looked at him and I said, very quietly, I hope the promotion was worth it. And then I walked out. I will not pretend the months that followed were easy. Divorce proceedings involving this level of financial complexity are not fast. There were depositions and hearings and moments where I sat in my attorney's office feeling the full weight of everything I had carried and everything I was still carrying. But the foundation we had built was solid. The forensic documentation was airtight. Daniel's attorney tried several angles to minimize the concealed assets and reframe the Shell LLC as a legitimate business expense. The forensic accountant dismantled every argument methodically and without drama. The settlement took 8 months to finalize. I was awarded full ownership of the family home, which we had purchased together, and which I had been solely maintaining for 2 years. I was awarded a substantial portion of the concealed marital assets, structured as spousal restitution for the financial fraud. My attorney had argued successfully that Daniel's deliberate concealment of income during the marriage constituted a form of financial abuse, and the court agreed. The total restitution, combined with my share of the legitimate marital assets, came to just under $800,000. Daniel's company, after reviewing the HR submission, conducted their own internal investigation into whether he had used company resources or time to establish and maintain the shell entity. I do not know the full outcome of that investigation. What I do know is that he is no longer employed there. I took a leave of absence from the hospital after the settlement. The first real rest I had taken in 3 years. I cooked food I actually wanted to eat. I sat in my backyard in the mornings and drank coffee and did nothing else, and let myself feel what it was like to not be running from something. I went back to nursing because I wanted to, not because I had no choice. That distinction matters more to me than I can fully explain. There is a version of yourself that does something out of desperation, and there is a version of yourself that does the same thing out of love. I wanted to find my way back to the second version. I think about that woman in the hospital break room sometimes. The one eating the stale granola bar at 2 in the morning, feeling sorry for her husband carrying everything alone. I do not feel angry at her. She was doing what she believed was right. She was being the person she had always been, generous and steady and willing to sacrifice. Those are not weaknesses. Those qualities are what allowed her to survive what came next. They are what gave her the patience to build something careful and precise instead of exploding in the moment. The man who tried to use those qualities against her made the oldest mistake there is. He looked at someone capable of extraordinary endurance, and he mistook endurance for blindness. He thought that because she was tired, she was not watching. He thought that because she was kind, she was not smart. He thought that because she trusted him, she would trust him forever. He was wrong about all of it. If you are out there right now in a situation that feels impossible, carrying weight that was never supposed to be yours alone, I want you to hear this. The fact that you are still standing is not nothing. The fact that you kept going when everything was working against you is not nothing. Endurance is not weakness. Patience, when it is pointed at something real, is one of the most powerful things a person can possess. You are not too tired to fight back. You are not too trusting to learn the truth. And when the moment comes, you will know exactly what to do with it. I know because I did.